Hello and welcome to Odders Plays. Today I'm actually doing something a little bit different. I'm doing a reading of a reader's feature that I did for the Metro not too long ago, and it's called Not My Destiny, The Problem with Bungie. In this article I'm talking a little bit about Bungie's history, but when I mean history I mean going back as far as the first Halo, because previous to that it's not really works comparable to what Destiny is, which is the focus. I'm looking at comparisons with issues that people have had with Destiny and the issues that have carried on since Halo. Games before that of Bungie's really kind of irrelevant because they're different games entirely. A lot of people complain that I didn't mention Marathon and other Bungie games that were made before Halo, but people who are complaining about that completely miss the point. Completely. And without further ado, I'll begin. It's sad, really. Yet another transformative experience that promises to forever alter the way we perceive games and blur the lines between single and multiplayer experiences has released, and to say that the reception has been mixed is an understatement. Complaints of boring level design, predictable enemies and a monotonous grind to the level cap plague many of Destiny's reviews, but should any of us be surprised, because this is just Bungie after all. And before you start getting pissed off and rip out your torches and your pitchforks, just wait, because I'm going to explain myself just a little bit better. Bungie are one of the most celebrated and adored developers to have graced us with their games in the last two console generations. So the hype generated for their first release away from Microsoft, since Halo, and on the more competent current gen machines reached an incredible fever pitch, becoming the most pre-ordered new IP and breaking first day sales records for a new IP. But why? Incredibly successful marketing aside, the reason is Bungie's hugely celebrated series, often lauded as a masterpiece by fans. Halo is one of the best-selling franchises of the last generation, and it's easy to see why. When Halo launched, it was that transformative experience. The controls were smooth and precise, the world looked beautiful, unlike anything we'd seen before, and most incredibly, looking down would reveal your character had a working pair of legs, which is just off the chain. But it wasn't for these reasons that Halo became a massive success. Instead, it was the blend of addictive and frenetic multiplayer combined with lush environments and vehicle combat. Things we may take for granted now were utterly mind-blowing when the Xbox first released, and it cemented Bungie's place as one of the greatest developers of the new generation. But now that grand vistas, vehicle combat and seeing your own legs is all very much commonplace, how does Halo series stack up to other games? And the answer is not amazingly. The level design in Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2 is, by today's standards, bland and uninspired. Exploring Covenant ships in Halo Combat Evolved is so bland and repetitive it's easy to get lost. The corridor taking you to the next boring enemy shootathon looks identical to the corridor which you used to enter the boring enemy shootathon. I myself found myself getting disorientated after jumping around the room, shooting lead into a group of angry aliens. And despite this rinse and repeat gameplay of shooting bullets into damaged sponges before progressing through a sci-fi themed alien world to meet more damaged sponges, the Halo series is critically acclaimed upon almost every release, despite fans complaining of becoming more weary with the franchise with every installment. So now that Bungie's broken away from Microsoft, surely a developer can now finally truly begin developing incredible multi-platform titles that break away from the heavily beaten path that Halo continues to tread, right? Well, no. Destiny is very much the logical endpoint for boring slogs. The world is utterly gorgeous and breathtaking, all the mechanics the game throws at you are tight and feel precise, and every single mission, patrol, story or strike is a boring, monotonous and painful experience. Aliens that are clearly inspired by a myriad of other sci-fi universes, including Star Wars and Star Trek, bumble about battlefields and relentlessly shoot at your guardian. Not to say that they're stupid, because they'll move out of sight and are out of fire as soon as their health starts running low, but the movements they make include walk slowly, shoot, walk a bit more, shoot, and some enemies have a special ability they might pull out, and that's it. All the player needs to keep in mind is that different enemy types have different weak point, so instead of a headshot you might want to be aiming at an opponent's chest, for example. What we have here are the very same problems that have plagued Bungie's games since Halo Combat Evolved, and those problems aren't going away. A machine made of well-oiled parts, all smoothly clinking and grinding together correctly, but all the machine does is dry paint slightly faster than a 60-watt light bulb. But that is Bungie. They're doing here exactly what they've always done. Make fantastic looking set pieces and immensely grand levels where not much interesting happens. Honestly, Destiny is a nice game, and I enjoyed my time with it, but the number of times I got bored of playing a mission and would rather have it end swiftly than have to continue any longer far outweighs the times I felt immersed and excited about the experience. But this is tradition now. Multi-million-dollar publishers can and will pour money into huge AAA projects with equally large marketing budgets, and the gaming community will inevitably pre-order, purchase, and then sit with their controller in their hands, watching the final cutscene of the story mode pass them by and cry, "Was that really it?" We've seen it happen with Watch Dogs, Call of Duty, Battlefield, Halo, and the only question is, which franchise is doomed to fail next? Is it Rainbow Six, Assassin's Creed? But on the upside, those well-oiled mechanics make for a pretty decent multiplayer shooter. And that was my reading, and what I'm really trying to get at here is that when it at least comes to the level design, Bungie have always sort of been like that since the first Halo. It really is a walk forward, kill enemies, walk forward, kill enemies, repetitive grind. And the problem is that Bungie inflates all this to ridiculous proportions. Whereas in Halo, the better you get, unless you're playing on Legendary mode, you can quickly learn where to throw a grenade and shoot down enemies and continue through the level at a decent pace, a pace that you decide. Whereas Bungie just inflates the health of the enemies you're fighting. They're still the same enemies, just with more inflated health, and you're just continually shooting at them and shooting at them. And honestly, after a couple of hours of playing Destiny, like, my fingers would hurt from holding the fucking triggers down for too long, and that shouldn't happen. That didn't happen to me in Call of Duty, and far be it from me to praise Call of Duty for fucking anything. But at least in that game I felt some sort of element of tension. In Destiny I rarely even felt any sort of tension because I was super powered, I was ridiculous, I could mow down pretty much anything unless it just had like a ridiculously high level cap and I was doing 0 damage. It's not the best game, guys. It's just not. It has a lot of problems. The content is weak. The story is weak. I feel disappointed. I don't feel like it's worth 40 to 50 quid as it stands. I don't feel like the Destiny we've been given is worth that kind of money. The multiplayer is decent, and like I said in the article, it's a pretty decent multiplayer shooter, and I've played the multiplayer, I've gone back to it and played that a few times over, but never the single player story missions, and that's because I really like those well-oiled mechanics. They work really well, and in a multiplayer environment they work great, but the limited amount of game modes, the limited amount of maps, and to be honest, the sort of repetitive gameplay, it got to me far too much. I've stuck with Call of Duty games for far longer than I've ever stuck with Destiny. I played Nintendo Land more than I played Destiny, and this is an FPS which has very good controls and mechanics. It has a multiplayer which would make many other FPSs jealous, and it has this MMO inspired thing going on, where it should just work better, I suppose. The MMOs are designed to be addictive and keep you playing, but this is the first time I've played one and just felt like hatred for it. I feel like there was more variety in early World of Warcraft missions back in the day, and let's face it, all of those missions were kill this amount of mobs to get this random drop or some shit like that, but even then each of those missions had some sort of detailed storyline and I knew why I was doing it. Destiny can't even fucking give me that. I can't even explain why I don't have time to explain. Oh god. To say I'm disappointed with Destiny would be a vast understatement, and I'm really hoping for a vast improvement in the future. I'm keeping the game at the moment, but if there is no reason to buy an expansion when the expansion comes out, you can guarantee I'm selling that shit. Alright, thank you very much for watching Oddest Plays. I can imagine there's going to be a lot of people that agree and strongly disagree, so please leave your opinions down below in the comments and I will reply to as many of you as possible. Thank you very much.